My campaign for president simply does not have the financial resources to continue.
All right, so a bit of a surprise here as Kamala Harris has dropped out of the 2020 race. Before I give you my analysis on this, let me show you a clip from her announcing it.
11 months ago at the launch of our campaign in Oakland, I told you all that I am not perfect, but I will always speak with decency and moral clarity and treat all people with dignity and respect, that I will lead with integrity and I will speak the truth. And so that's what I've tried to do every day of this campaign, and here's the truth today. I've taken stock and I've looked at this from every angle, and over the last few days, I have come to one of the hardest decisions of my life. So here's the deal, guys. My campaign for president simply does not have the financial resources to continue, and the financial resources we need to continue. I'm not a billionaire. I can't fund my own campaign. And as the campaign has gone on, it has become harder and harder to raise the money we need to compete. In good faith, I cannot tell you, my supporters and volunteers, that I have a path forward if I don't believe I do. So, to you, my supporters, my dear supporters, it is with deep regret, but also with deep gratitude, that I am suspending our campaign today. But I want to be clear with you. I am still very much in this fight, and I will keep fighting every day for what this campaign has been about. Justice for the people, all the people.
All right, so a bit of a surprise here, but as I'm going to get to, everything is strategic. There is a reason why she is dropping out now. So first, let me give you my initial impressions. When I first saw that she dropped out, I thought, well, this is crazy, but good on her for recognizing that she can't win and not wasting anybody else's time or money and dropping out now. Glad she did, whatever. But as I looked into it, and as you're going to see from reporting from other people that are looking into this, it's clear as to why she dropped out. But before we get there, let me just mention here how Amy Klobuchar and John Delaney are still in this race. I mean, it's like, what is going on? When Kamala Harris drops out before Amy Klobuchar and John Delaney, you know there's a problem here. So Amy Klobuchar and Delaney have support. Their support is nowhere near what Kamala Harris has, yet they continue to be in this race. John Delaney didn't make the last debate. He's not going to make the next debate, yet for some reason he's still in this race. He thinks he has a chance. It's completely crazy. On top of that, I mean, you know, Bloomberg and Tom Steyer are also in this race. Bloomberg's just getting started. Again, his support and Tom Steyer's support are lower than Kamala Harris's support. Yet billionaires can buy their way into a primary and stay there because they have the money to fund themselves. Now, first, let's look at why Kamala Harris began to drop, or dropped to the point where she dropped out of this race. So a lot of the analysis so far, including from me, has been, well, Tulsi Gabbard in that debate, the July 31st debate where she went after Kamala Harris's record, that took her down completely and destroyed her campaign. Yes and no. So if you actually look at the data on this, the Real Clear Politics poll average shows you that Harris was actually dropping before the debate. So you see here on August 1st, this is the day after the debate. This is where you would expect her to, I guess, be at her highest in polling, but she wasn't. So she had a big boost at the beginning in July, and then by the end of July, she was already on the way down. So, I mean, I'm sure Tulsi Gabbard somewhat helped that along, but at that point, Warren was already taking a lot of Harris's support. So this isn't really necessarily about Tulsi Gabbard taking down Kamala Harris. It's really just about a candidate that didn't have it, that didn't have the support, didn't have the money needed to back her. Now, also, I want to share this because this, like, a lot of us near the beginning of this race, we assumed Kamala Harris would be in this race a lot longer than she actually was. But none of us went as far as the mainstream press did. So as the Humanist Report points out here, reminder, the political analysts in mainstream media know absolutely nothing and don't have their finger on the pulse of America. As you see here, at one point CNN put Kamala Harris in the #1 spot for 2020 rankings. and Beto O'Rourke at number 2. Two candidates that are no longer in the race. Just a reminder at how, even with all the resources, all the money, everything in the world, CNN, mainstream press in general, are not good at political analysis because they don't actually know what people are feeling. So why did Kamala Harris drop out so early? Partly it's because of what she told you in that clip, the money. So corporate interests, wealthy donors, they have Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg. There is no reason to support Kamala Harris when they already have those other candidates. Now, look, personally, I think it would be smarter on the side of the corporate interest on the wealthy donors to have backed Kamala Harris over Pete Buttigieg and Joe Biden. But they decided to pick Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg. They already, hitched their ride to those horses. So they're not going to renege on that now and support Kamala Harris. But there's also another part of this. This is the strategic part of why she dropped out now. So as Ryan Grimm of The Intercept reports here, some context. Harris only had a few days to get out before her name would appear on the California ballot, which gets mailed to voters in early February. Getting crushed in California would have been devastating and set her up for a challenge in 2022 for her reelection. So this is the likely reason why she dropped out now as opposed to waiting any longer. She was not on pace to win California. Bernie Sanders is doing very well there, as is Elizabeth Warren, I believe. So you have a situation here where Senator Kamala Harris from California could have lost her own state in the race, and that would not have looked good going into 2022. And absolutely, she could have been challenged from the left there and lost if it showed how, if a loss in this primary showed you how weak she was in her own state. So that is likely the reason why she dropped out now. Now, let's look at where her support may go. Because there's this idea out there, well, Kamala Harris dropping out, it's really going to change the race now. All her supporters are going to go, to one candidate or a bunch of candidates. It's really going to change the race, the entire makeup of the race. Not really. So we have to be reminded here that Kamala Harris was not polling well. She didn't really have many supporters left. Morning Consult has polling on people's second choices. So this is the most recent polling on second choices. So when looking at that, you can see the graph here. If Harris supporters went to their second choice, Joe Biden here with 1 point more, Bernie Sanders 1 point more, Elizabeth Warren 1 point more. Really not having much of an effect on the race because, again, she didn't really have many supporters left. But potentially, I guess the impact that she could have is who she endorses. So that may actually drive all of her supporters to one candidate, or maybe just in terms of getting more media attention to whatever candidate she endorses, that could potentially help that candidate. Now, as Kevin the Donkey on Twitter tweets out here, if Kamala was smart, she'd endorse Bernie to secure her Senate seat in 2022. Bernie will win California, and going against his popular progressive platform could cost her seat. Now, I agree with this. I think Kamala should endorse Bernie Sanders. It would help her. I mean, it would help her more than it would help Bernie Sanders. But she's not going to do that. Bernie Sanders is anti-establishment. He is standing up for the people against corporate interests, against wealthy donors. Kamala Harris is not going to back Bernie Sanders. I think a more likely endorsement for her will be Elizabeth Warren because she's still able to, kind of be seen as progressive enough by supporting Elizabeth Warren. So potentially still not hurting her in her Senate race in 2022 by endorsing Warren over a more centrist candidate. But if all Kamala Harris cares about is her own career and wants to take a gamble, she could back Joe Biden and hope that she becomes Joe Biden's VP. So there's that. That said, I mean, I don't know if she wants to be in the position where she has to defend Joe Biden over and over and over again. That's not a good position for anybody. And if she gambles on Joe Biden and Biden doesn't win this primary race, then again, that's really going to hurt her in her Senate race in 2022. So I think she may just sit back for now. She may sit back, see where this race goes, eventually give an endorsement if it comes down to a few candidates and they all have a good shot. then maybe she'll, if Biden's still in the race at that point, then maybe she would endorse Joe Biden. But it's really hard to know. Ultimately, I think really what's important to note here is that mostly everybody expected Kamala Harris to last a lot longer in this Democratic primary race than she actually did.